Hello, my name is Chuck Eckberg, and I live in Woodbury, Minnesota. I've lived here since 1990. I work as a realtor and have for 20 years. I also serve on the Park and Natural Resources Commission for the city of Woodbury. Giving you that background just helps you understand that I'm pretty immersed in housing values and the effect of housing. Also pretty immersed in um, the issues of natural resource use and climate change, which is something that I've followed and been concerned about for a long time now. I'm doing this series here starting September 2023, me and my wife Deb, because we just want to explain some practical things that you might consider doing now if you're not already doing them. And we're going to kind of show you around the house and around the exterior of our home to show you the kind of things that we've been adopting um, and what you might consider doing yourselves. This last year has been pretty traumatic with the number of storms and different natural catastrophe events. Most people are understanding that we need to do something, and we need to do something pretty quick. So we're going to have a few of these, maybe 4 or 5 different videos. This is simply an introduction. Here's what I promise, though. I try to be honest in my life always. I don't like people that don't tell the truth. I think that it really confuses issues when we don't, remain objective, even when we have a viewpoint that differs from what other people are saying. We have to represent both sides. So I promise I'll be objective in that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything or over promise something that isn't real. That's something that people that know me can count on me for. I promise to do that. And then I can tell you, we'll have a few things that are pretty, usual to consider. But toward the end of these video series, I'm going to suggest some pretty controversial things. We'll have some good discussions about it as far as why we might have to consider making some what might consider some radical changes to how we live. Now, Deb and I we've dived into this, and we've thought about, do we want to compromise the way we live? We live in a 3,600 square foot home in Woodbury, a suburban suburb of St. Paul, Minneapolis. Do we want to have to compromise how we live? Do we think other people are going to take the steps to compromise the way that we live to really make a difference? And, I've sweated about this. I've thought about this. I've anguished about it. We've had these conversations. Thought about a tiny house. What do you think, Deb? Tiny house? No, she says no. And I have to admit, I say no too. And I know that my friends and other family, most of them would say no too. So what can we do without compromising? We can try to be smart. And that's what we're trying to do. We can also make some investments that give these smart things the priority they deserve. We're spending money on some of this stuff, and you'll see what we're doing. Do we think it's money well spent? Well, I'll give you a perspective as a realtor that I promise you, if you list with me, I can monetize these things back to you. In fact, you'll make money on some of these, especially outfitting your house with solar panels, and we'll get to that. So I promise to be objective here. We've had some encouraging news. I'm very happy. The Guardian, British publication, has interviewed some scientists, and some scientists now are looking at the adoption of these green technologies, and they're actually saying we have a chance to keep climate change and global warming below 1.5 Celsius. And that's the target that most experts say that we really have to try to keep the warming below without having catastrophic effects. So first time I've read something positive for a while here. And it looks like if we keep adopting these things and we really gain some ground on it, we have a good chance. And people say to me, well, is it just too late? I found it curious and angering that, people would say climate change isn't happening. Well, people, certain industries, climate change isn't happening. And then all of a sudden they switch to, it's too late to do anything about it. That's baloney. It's not a zero-sum game. If we eliminate one molecule of carbon dioxide or don't burn it, the world's going to be one carbon dioxide molecule better for it. It's not, total disaster or total health. It's degrees. What we're trying to do is find kind of a soft crash landing and get to stasis where we can continue to live the way we want to live, or mostly, without robbing our future generations from their enjoyment of the planet. It's not our planet to use up, gang. It's just not. We're here as guests, and we're supposed to leave a planet that is just as viable or more so than how we found it. It's a fundamental we learned in elementary school. It's a fundamental we're trying to live by. And by watching this series and adopting some of these things, we'll get somewhere on that. Please, offline, if you have any suggestions for content. Also, if you want to have some discussions, you want to, bring some information to my attention that, is reliable, I want to hear about it. We can rally on this stuff. So thanks for listening. We'll get to the meat and potatoes of this in future videos. We'll see you next time.